Hello and welcome to Bad Boy Cinema. I am your host, Rick Reel, and with me today is, as always, my co-host, Elliot Film. Mr. Film, how are you?
I'm grand. Had a grand
old
time today.
Oh, there we go.
How are you?
Oh, dude, I think I'm a little sick, I think.
Sick
I've been
of
like
what?
a little sick of living, let me tell you. No, sick of not watching classic movies. But luckily we did that for this week's episode of Bad Boy Cinema. This week we checked out The Prestige, released in 2006, directed by our friend Chris N.
Mm-hmm.
Starring acclaimed actors Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale, among others. Michael Caine as well.
Yeah.
Wait, Andy Serkis was in this?
Oh yeah.
Who
Andrew
the fuck was
Serkis
he?
is all over this. He's David Bowie's best friend.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. I didn't know. Yeah. Not to get into the film right out of the gate into the middle of it.
Yeah.
But I didn't know. While I was watching it, I didn't realize that Tesla was David
Mr. Bowie. Yeah. I also didn't realize that. I was like, who is this guy?
I was like, I know him, but I don't know him.
Yeah, he can't play him because he's doing like a serious face and he's got his hair cut short. I'm like, what are you doing? Yeah.
And he's got a little mustache. I wasn't going to say what kind of mustache it was. That might have been on a different show that I would have said what kind of mustache it was. But yeah. It was a little mustache. Anyway, how'd you feel about watching The Prestige?
Okay, here's by the way, spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers from this point forward. I mean, though, to be fair, well, I don't know, because people, not to derail you immediately after asking you what you thought, but
absolutely. Go ahead.
Let me do it anyways. People talk about how big the twists are. I think there's like basically two, I guess. Yeah. Although I thought one of them I figured out like immediately because that one wasn't complicated. And the other one, I didn't realize what the things I was noticing were like meaning. And then once I figured it out, I was like, oh, okay. And then I don't feel like a need to rewatch the film with this new knowledge. Because I was like, oh, that's what I was like clocking as something to pay attention to, but not quite knowing what yet. And now that I do, I get it, you know? Anyway, sorry.
That's what I was going to say is, so this film is also written by Chris N. And
his brother.
Yeah, and his brother.
Which I don't
know how much Johnny's doing.
I think Jonathan, well, first of all, he is the much more handsome of the Nolan brothers.
I've never, okay, yeah.
No offense to Chris, but I mean, just look through the Wikipedia.
I mean, a little offense.
I said more handsome. I didn't say Chris was an ugly guy. I just said
there's a little offense. That's all I'm saying. So Christopher N. loves to write and direct and usually produce his own films, and that's great. Love that for him. He is a little narcissistic. He's a little self-obsessed in that he loves to show you what the twist is going to be at the beginning of the film. He just he did it.
What other movies does he do that in?
Memento, he does it, and Interstellar, he does it.
He does it in Interstellar? I don't remember that.
Well, there's we could watch Interstellar.
I would love to watch Interstellar.
I caught the back half of it the other day, but you've seen Interstellar?
Yes, but I
Spoilers
haven't
for
seen it since it was in the
Interstellar, folks.
theater.
There's like Morse code in the books, and if you know the Morse code fucking thing, then
Yeah.
you know the end of the movie.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. I'll have to when we rewatch it for this very show.
Yeah.
I'll have to pay attention to that. I
Uh,
think
and you haven't seen Memento, you said?
I have not seen Memento. I really should
Okay.
get through the front half of the Chris N catalog because I'm
I
pretty
think it's
good
the
on the
stronger half, in my
back half.
opinion. But,
Looking at it on Wikipedia, it definitely seems like the more interesting half. Like once he started doing the Batman stuff in full force, like his
yeah,
movies got a lot more blockbustery and more
yeah.
like big expensive things. Whereas like this, I'm sure it was an expensive-ish movie, but not.
Let's
It
let's
was a
look
budget
at
of
the
$40
budget
million
here.
dollars.
40
That's
million?
not.
That's nothing, dude.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even in 2006 money, that's not crazy.
Yeah, like this podcast cost like 28 million in 2006 money.
And I mean, 2006 also, I believe, is when Mr. and Mrs. Smith, starring Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, came out, and I do
So
remember that.
that had like $100 and something million budget, if I recall correctly.
Let me just do the fact check here real quick. Oh, that was 2005. Excuse me. That was 110 million. So yeah, like
Yeah.
And I mean, and this, in my opinion, is The Prestige is a superior film of the two, although they're very different, of course.
Yeah. Hugh Jackman. He's got a huge act, man. He's a magician.
He does, yeah.
And
boy, does he do one very huge act
in
the movie. But his movie, Christopher N's movies after this are very big, and it looks like this is. I mean, this is just like guys in rooms talking, and there's like no action, which I love.
Unlike Christopher N's recent films, not at all guys in rooms talking.
Okay, well, Oppenheimer might be guys in rooms talking, but Tenet is not guys in rooms talking at all.
I haven't seen it. I did pick it up. So
I would do a Tenet episode, but I would kind of. I mean, maybe we should just hit up all the Chris N movies on the show. I think that could be interesting. I mean, not that he's like an interesting director per se, just like he is still. I mean, calling him an auteur, I think, would be a bit extreme, but still like technically correct. If you know what I mean.
Here's what it is. I think he's a frat boy auteur.
Yeah, and I just think it's interesting that a guy like that can exist more so than he himself is particularly interesting.
Yeah. I mean, good movie.
I consider myself maybe to be a frat boy auteur, if I'm being so honest.
Sure.
I'll
give it to you. I'll give it to you. Okay, so what are your thoughts on Prestige? I thought it was a little up its own ass, being like, huh? Check it out. Birds. Am I right, guys? And then at the end, you're like, it was birds the whole time. Great.
Well, yeah, when you frame it like that, again, it's like, it's one of those movies where, I don't know. I don't think it was so much up its own ass as much as I think people who like the movie are up its own ass. That was more like because my only interaction with the movie is seeing guys on Reddit being like, The Prestige is the best Christopher Nolan movie. And, like they love it because of the twists. And like the twists are interesting, but I think still within that movie is like an interesting kind of back and forth between, Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale. I almost called him Christopher Bale, but that would have been wrong. Would have been wrong of me to do that because it's not his name. But there's the interesting back and forth, and at the end of the movie when they, I would say, are doing a thing that they kind of do in anime, where they just kind of explain their ideals to each other.
Yeah,
I mean, it's stupid, but I do like that, and the fact that the characters had ideals at all, and the whole movie was not like just a vehicle for a cool twist or two.
It's not
Um,
like Now You See Me, where it's just like magicians and a magician off.
yeah, no, like there was a little bit more to it than just what I was expecting, which was magicians doing shit at each other, and there's no real personality or themes or narratives behind those characters. And then there's a big twist, and you're like, oh, I get the movie now. I thought that's what it was going to be, but it wasn't. It was, there was, I'd say the correct magician of the magicians involved. And I'm not going to say what the number of magicians involved are. Even
Yeah.
though I said there's no spoilers. This is like the soft,
Yeah.
like we're still, if you're still listening and you don't want spoilers, and we already told you to leave.
Yeah. If now you're like,
still here.
If you start, you're like, I don't care about spoilers, but now you're interested. You're like, how many magicians?
Now how many magicians? Well,
maybe I will watch this.
Now is definitely the time to
so if you're going to hop out right now, just quick rate us 5 stars on iTunes and then go off and watch The Prestige. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think that this is a classic 3-star film.
I would give it a 4.
All right.
Which I think is the highest rating I've given a film on this show so far.
I have no memory of any.
I think I gave both the other movies 3s.
Okay.
Whereas I like for Heather's, before this, it was like there was stuff I really liked and stuff I thought was annoying, and it met in the middle. Whereas like Mr. and Mrs. Smith is definitely already in the middle and is not a balance of two extremes. Whereas I like this enough to like maybe it's a 3.5,
Yeah.
But I liked it a little bit more than feeling like, yeah, it was fine,
It's good. It's
out of 5. Not out. Are you doing 3 out of 4 or 3 out of 5?
5.
5. All right.
A 5-star Andy.
5. Yeah.
I mean, star-studded cast. I'll say that. As we mentioned, Andrew Serkis, David Bowie,
Scarlett
Actman, Michael
Scarlett
Caine.
Johansson.
I mean, yeah, Scarlett.
Rebecca Hall. Not super familiar with her. She's gonna be in Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire movie this year.
True. So shout out Rebecca Hall.
Sure.
Yeah, this film. What are you doing? Like,
what do you mean? What are you doing?
I don't know. I feel like this movie relies a lot on telling you what the twist is going to be and then telling you very little information after that.
And so now that we've officially scared away anybody who wanted to watch this movie,
absolutely,
and has yet to do so, what do you mean by telling what the twist? I mean, you said the thing with the birds where I guess, well, that's the first one of the 2 twists of the film, I would say, right? And to me, it was the one that was, and it does the thing with the other twist too, where it tells you what the twist is going to be. And then in that one's defense, provides a few more breadcrumbs throughout the film for you to go, oh, that's what all that was about, right? So with the bird thing, that is in reference to, which sounds insane, but Hugh Jackman acquiring Nikola Tesla's cloning machine.
Yeah.
And then killing himself, like murder-wise, not suicide-wise, repeatedly. And
for 100 days.
For 100 days, and for his little teleporting trick, because he wanted to do it. So I guess the Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale, rival magicians. Christian Bale accidentally, I want to believe that it's an accident, accidentally kills Hugh Jackman's wife in a twist, and that leads, kind of their back and forth. I would say Christian Bale is probably the better magician. I believe that is like in the text canon that he's the better magician. Middle-ish of the movie, he does a disappearing, or not teleporting, a transporting man, I believe is how they phrased it in the 1890s.
The real transporting man, the original transporting.
I think we're all transporting. We're all the transporting man when we go places in a car. or an
Yeah.
airplane.
Jason
Maybe both.
Statham, that's the true transported man.
They should do a remake where it's for the
Yeah.
parts. It's the same movie, and then they just cut in
Yeah. Instead of
Jason Statham.
the same guy coming out the other end of the transported man, it just always comes out Jason Statham.
Yeah. And then everything else is the same. Like then the
Yeah.
scene ends.
They
It's back
just
to
don't
normal.
they don't acknowledge that it's not the same guy.
I think
I
that
don't
would be
know.
a good film.
Yeah. I mean, they do to answer your question. So in the beginning of the film, like one of the first scenes is doing a trick where the bird cage collapses and the bird disappears, but then he comes back, and then it's revealed that the original bird is dead, and all birds look the same. And you're like, whoa,
Whoa.
magic is deadly.
He just pulls out the second bird out of his pocket, be like, same bird. And,
Yeah. And you're like, magic, crazy. And then, like, I don't know, I want to say 20 minutes later in the film, there's a stage act where the same trick happens, and a little boy explains how the trick works while through tears, being like, the bird was his brother. Wink, wink. Keyword, brother is dead.
yeah. Well, I mean, I guess that's kind of leading more to the second twist, which is the one that the killing yourself one. I think once they like introduce the machine, and it's like, oh, that's how that's gonna be. He's gonna make a clone of himself and then just kill himself. Like, I was like, all right, that's not. And I don't think that the other twist, which is that spoilers, Christian Bale's character is actually two people who are, I guess, twins, brothers, as twins, who live their whole lives trading off every so often, I guess, indeterminately.
Yeah.
And nobody knows except some people catch on.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, do whatever you want with your life. I'm not trying to police you, but if you're gonna be two people as one person,
that's really committing to a bit.
Don't both be married to the same woman. Like, be one guy. Be one guy who's married to the woman, and then
occasionally swap out.
Like, you got to live in the basement when I'm talking to my wife, and then like when she's
or just
not
in another
around,
house.
Yeah,
because they still had like a full-on disguise when they were the other guy, the assistant guy, and
just like
they could have just lived as that guy, and then only when they had to for work do a little. But it would suck having to be in costume like the whole time.
Yeah.
So I guess because then it's like, well, you want to be the brother who just gets to be married and not like the weird assistant guy most of the time. So, but they foreshadowed this in the beginning of the movie as well, where there's like this like I guess like Chinese magician guy who like is faking being crippled all the time so he can do like one trick that requires incredible like strength.
Yeah. Great trick, though.
Again, it's a good bit. And they're like, wow, imagine how hard it must be living your life like this and lying all the time.
Yeah.
And Christian Bale just kind of like winks at the camera.
Yeah. He's like,
and I'm like, what is this?
I figured it out instantly because I'm a good magician.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I didn't know why for any other reason.
Yeah, like, wow, what a genius strategy this guy has. Wish I came up with that.
Did you think Christian Bale's character, like, so when I was watching the movie, and a lot of times they touch on like his wife is like, sometimes it feels like he loves me, and sometimes it feels like he doesn't love me. And I, obviously they meant for it to be like, well, sometimes it's the one who actually loves her, and sometimes it's that guy's brother who like doesn't care. To me, I was like, oh, he's just like a genius bipolar guy. That was how I read his character, and I was like, wow, he's very
Yeah,
compelling,
I
very
think that's how you're
relatable.
supposed to read it
Yeah,
in the moment. I I kind of read it as like, yeah, he's too
he's just
involved in
fickle.
his work.
Yeah, but then because at first I was like, because one of the key issues of the film is Hugh Jackman's wife dies, and he's like,
RIP.
hey, like Christian Bale, did you tie the wrong whatnot? Did you do that on purpose? Like, what the fuck were you doing? And he's like, I don't know. Which I was like, why? What kind of answer is that? But now it seems more like he was just talking to the brother that wasn't the one who did it. So
Mm,
he probably literally doesn't know.
yeah,
I mean, you'd
that's
assume they would
fair.
like compare notes, be like, by the way, I killed his wife, or
Yeah. I do think that it was, I would say malicious negligence. I'm not going to say it's murder. He didn't
it
intend for
was a little
anybody to die.
manslaughter.
He didn't intend for anybody to die, but he was setting up the dominoes for it to
He
happen.
was engineering a situation for if it happened, it happened.
Not my wife.
Uh, what I don't understand is how Christian Bale was like found guilty. Well, one of the Christian Bales was found guilty for murdering Hugh Jackman in the beginning of the movie, which I
Yeah.
guess, the movie opens with Hugh Jackman dying during his. I mean, yeah, he does die, but it's one of the clones that dies. But we didn't know that at the start of the film.
Yeah.
I don't know how Christian Bale, like that could possibly be Christian Bale's fault.
No, not at
I
all.
don't like it does like that doesn't make sense. The whole movie is like contingent on, Christian Bale's one of the Christian Bales getting, executed and imprisoned and
Yeah.
executed for murdering Hugh Jackman, even though he didn't do it, or maybe he did. If you're watching the movie fresh, you don't know, right? Although,
Yeah.
the opening sequence does make it seem like he didn't,
Yeah. I
knowingly
mean,
do it.
like nobody in the movie knows that they're in a movie with a twist. You know what I mean? Like they don't have any knowledge. They just know that they're rival magicians and one of them's dead and the other guy
I think
was
the
there at
wife
the
kind of
time.
knew she was in a movie with a twist, which
Yeah.
is why she killed herself.
Yeah.
She's like, I've had enough of this shit.
I like the idea that any character in any film where they kill themselves, it's because
That's
they knew
why
they were in
in a
a bad
movie.
movie. I don't agree with this film. Um, look, take that,
I,
take that advice. Go watch Heather's again. You tell me.
well, actually, there is a theme of women killing themselves in Chris Nolan movies.
Yeah,
Kind of. Wonder what
uh,
that's about.
I love to wonder. Yeah, so nobody knows what Christian Bale did at the beginning of the movie. We know as the audience, but the only audience canonically in the film is a blind man. So
Well, yeah, but Michael Caine also runs out there and is like,
he sees the end,
he sees the end, but like
but
again, you just see him. He goes into the thing, and then Christian Bale goes down there, is like trying to get the guy out, and like is like, I don't know what's going on, and Michael Caine's like, I don't know what's going on, and
yeah,
then
they also kind of pull this bullshit trick that I don't agree with. Where at the beginning of the film, you see Christian Bale watching Hugh Jackman drown, and you're like, "Whoa, this dude's a nice cold killer." And then when they reveal what actually happened, he's trying desperately to save him,
yeah.
and it's like you didn't show that part.
If the court had seen that, they wouldn't have thought he was guilty. But like even in the
But
early part of the movie when it kind of flashes further, I mean, it's constantly like flashing to the present and then also into varying points in time and not necessarily even in order. when it flashes back to as far in the beginning as it really ever shows, I'm never getting the vibe of like, oh, Christian Bale is going to kill this guy. Like, if anything, if anyone was going to kill anybody, I was like, Hugh Jackman is going to kill Christian Bale, which he kind of sort of does, half of him.
I mean,
I know, and the movie I think tries to portray like both characters as being like kind of, you know, neither
wild
good nor
cards.
bad. They're just kind of neutral, morally gray, kind of chaotic individuals, as all magicians are. But I always found myself just being like, oh, like, well, Christian Bale's like the good one.
Yeah.
At least some of the time, which again is because like I guess one of them was more hinged than the other one. But the Christian Bale who loved his wife was the good one.
Yeah.
And I think was the one who, he's the one who ends up living because he goes back to his daughter.
Yeah, I think it's rude. So,
it's rude.
I think it was rude to fake your own death and blame someone for it. I think the evidence would have shown, let the record show, the glass tank where Hugh Jackman was supposedly murdered had a lot of cracks and dents in it from Christian Bale trying to open it up. They should have talked about that in court instead of being like, can you tell me in private how teleportation works?
And then what also doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me is that Michael Caine's character, I guess at some point knows that Christian Bale is two people or figures it out or something.
Yeah.
And also he correctly called, because Hugh Jackman sees Christian Bale in the middle of the movie, go, oh, wow, he did this transporting man trick. There's no way he could have possibly done that. Like, it's too good for him to have just done it with a double. And Michael Caine's like, no, I think he did it with a double. Like, there's no way you could possibly do that without a double. Like, it's impossible. He's like, no, I'm gonna figure out how it works for sure. And then he still gets a double. It doesn't and he's like, no, it's got to be something better than that. So he's like, oh, I have to turn this into steampunk fantasy and get a teleporting cloning machine.
Yeah.
Michael Caine knew, one, that Christian Bale was not involved with what's his face's thing.
Yeah.
He would have had to have figured out on some level that it's literally impossible for someone to disappear and then appear instantly-ish, maybe 5 seconds later, on the other side of a fucking, theater,
auditorium.
A big auditorium. Thank you. That's impossible. That doesn't make any sense. And so he would have had to have been like, well, surely he could have been like, hey, I don't think he did it.
Yeah.
It seemed a little contrived, maybe, just for the to work.
That to me read as our good friends Christopher and Jonathan once again telling you what's going to happen in the movie and hoping that you're too stupid to realize it. And honestly, for his as I said, frat boy audience, it works every time.
He's probably not wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, it works every time. He's constantly doing that. He does it in Inception, I'm pretty sure. He's just like,
he kind of half shows it. I mean, again, people watch Inception. I would love to do Inception. That's a movie that I know really like the back of my hand. And in high school Spanish, I did a spoof of the trailer as a little project, and I got 100 on it. So there. But that's a movie where they show you that he's like the dream kind of they show kind of the very like second to last scene first,
Yeah.
which is I guess similar to how he does it in The Prestige, but the twist is not really there's not really a twist to Inception, I would say. There's an ending that you can read the correct way, or you can read it the way that most people read it, which is have an argument about what is happening when they're missing the point and that doesn't matter. And it's yeah, I guess Oppenheimer doesn't really have well, they show you the end of the movie when in Oppenheimer when I guess Louis Strauss gets walked past by Albert Einstein.
Yeah.
I love the edits of that where it's like to like Cassie from Euphoria. Have you seen those?
I have not seen.
Oh, they're great.
I just watched Oppie a couple days ago. Prior to that, I've seen nothing. I've barely seen any screenshots. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't even know RDJ.
You're like, I didn't know who Oppenheimer was.
I knew it was Cillian Murphy and our good friend Christopher, and that was it.
That was it.
And I saw him wearing a hat.
I would have liked to see Leo and Cillian in this one instead of Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale. I think that would have been interesting.
Yeah, who would you cast as Christian Bale? I would do Cillian personally.
I agree, actually. Yeah, because I think a frustrated Leo trying to figure out how Cillian Murphy's magic worked. I think that would work for Hugh Jackman's character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out Leo, one of the all-time rock stars of film history.
I love Leo, and I don't think he's done anything wrong.
I'll tell you what he's done wrong.
Not been in this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. He thinks that he's too fucking good for the world.
Who, Leo?
He's like, I have no public presence of any kind, and I'm only the lead. Cool. I'm only the lead in the biggest director's films. I will not play a secondary character or any movie of like a guy who only has 3 great films.
I mean, for a guy who is like just probably one of the best actors that is still alive, you know.
I mean, for what he wants to do, he's doing it absolutely correctly.
Yeah,
that's just not how I would imagine.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's very funny that he's like, I'm interested in being the best actor in the best movies, dating women until they're 25, and I don't think he's dumping them when they turn 25. I think they're like, I want a more serious relationship, and he's like, no thanks.
Yeah,
I think that's how it's actually going, because you turn 25, you're theoretically
your brain
mature,
is developed,
and you realize what you want out of life a little bit better. And I think he very much is not interested in any of that. And then it's also very funny that he's just super into like environmental advocacy stuff, like as just like a weird other thing. And he's also been very supportive of Lily Gladstone for Killers of the Flower Moon, which is cool.
Sure.
He seems like a chill hang,
Okay. Oh, you know what?
I think he's good.
I'll tell you what Leo's done wrong.
Okay.
Don't Look Up.
Yeah, that might have been a misstep on his part. I kind of pretend it's like, yeah, he didn't do anything since Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He did that, and then he took a long break and came back for Killers of the Flower Moon, and there was no movies in between. Not one.
Sure. Yeah. I'm looking at his filmography here. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
He's got some good films on here.
He's got more hits than misses. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
I bet he did Don't Look Up for like climate change reasons. That's probably the only reason why he did it.
Didn't he write it or something?
No, I thought it was.
I feel like he was more heavily involved than just acting, but I don't know.
Like if he produced it,
I don't know anything. This episode is supposed to be about
the Prestige.
The Prestige.
Don't Look Up 7.2. What does Don't Look Up have on Rotten Tomatoes?
55.
50. Really?
Mm-hmm.
That low?
Yeah, Metacritic 49. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's not a well-respected.
No, you're talking about Don't Look Up, or are you talking about The Prestige?
Don't Look Up.
Oh, I'm talking about The Prestige. Sorry.
Okay.
I was like that. Yeah, I know. Don't Look Up's not very good. The Prestige has got a 77 with critics and a 92 with audience, which.
Yeah,
I agree with both of those numbers being what they are. That doesn't surprise me. Now, are there some movies that we will get to on this show where their number is very low?
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, I think everyone, critics and audience members alike, just didn't get it.
They're not watching it correctly.
They're not watching it right, and I know in this film that I'm not going to name what it is. 13% on Rotten Tomatoes came out the same year as The Prestige. And honestly, they're very different films, but they're good in different ways. They are both films.
I don't know if this counts as a spoiler, but court cases in both films.
A lot of parallels really between those movies. So
two rivals. I'm not going to go any further than that, but you could figure out what movie it is.
Yeah, well,
as a listener, there's enough information there. You could figure it out. The Prestige. I don't know about this film.
You don't know? What's holding you back from knowing about
it's
this
serviceable. Film? I think it's a little too pretentious.
I think the film itself, I don't think is that pretentious.
I'm annoyed at how he likes to try and throw it in your face that you won't get it.
I don't think he's doing that. I don't think he's doing
when you watch Memento, you'll be like, okay, I get it now. Because he's a little bit excessive.
You think he's getting off a little bit to
he wants
because I really sincerely don't believe that these twists are like the movie without even the knowledge of the twists, being like, oh, I get the movie now, and when you watch it again, you're like, oh wow, I'm so smart because now I'm understanding it. I think even without that, just being like a person watching these two characters kind of clash throughout the film, I think that's inherently interesting, even without the twists.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think maybe that might be a little bit from his brother,
because I feel like his stars off Heather's because of two eyebrows on screen. I think I can.
There's more than just the eyebrows that I didn't like about Heather's. Okay,
you didn't like that it was Society.
It was cringy, and I again frame it from the perspective of somebody who is consumed media inspired by it to be kind of tired of what that movie is doing.
Yeah,
there's just on the virtue of the Prestige not existing as long,
That's true. The Prestige. I'm very annoyed with it. I'm annoyed at Christopher Nolan being like, I'm smarter than you. I'm going to tell you what the twist is, and you're not going to know. And he keeps doing it, and it keeps. But he
still gives you a good movie, and so that's why I don't think he's like.
But I'm taking points away for being. For being a little bit of a dickling.
I don't want to be like a fucking Reddit guy who's like, The Prestige is the best movie of all time, because those guys are fucking irritating. And it's not even my favorite Christopher Nolan movie, which is Inception or Interstellar. I think it probably depends on the day.
They're both good. I like it. I probably prefer Interstellar, but both good.
Both. I'm in different moods to watch, one or the other, right? Like, I think I probably like Interstellar more, but I don't think I would just sit down and watch Interstellar on any particular day.
Yeah, but if it was
It's kind
on,
of a
you're like,
lot.
wow, what a good
Yeah,
film.
if you're in the right mood for it, Interstellar will like really kick you in the nuts in a good way.
Yeah,
But
you're like, wow, Matthew.
Matthew's great.
Matthew, magic
Matthew
on
had a
screen.
really good like 2014. You know what I mean? True Detective, Interstellar.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's something else in there, but
Still riding the high of Tropic Thunder, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm taking points away for being a dickling. If this was the only time he did it, I might not do that.
yeah.
But he really gets off on being smarter than his audience, and I think
He is
intentionally does
smarter than
not
his
have a good heart.
audience.
He is, but I think that's by design of his audience rather than true intelligence. I don't know.
That's
Like,
mean.
I think that okay, I'll phrase this differently. I think that he is heavy-handed with foreshadowing
I don't disagree with that.
to an
I can
obnoxious
agree with that.
degree, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I don't think it bothers me as much, but once you know what the foreshadowing is, it's like, yeah, you could have been a little bit more subtle.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, he's not good at subtleties, I don't think.
no, he's not. He is not a subtle director at all. Which, he is earnest,
Yeah.
I think. And I think, in a media landscape where so much of it is like undercut by irony or like, stupid quips or whatever, even with Oppenheimer, even with fucking Tenet, which is a movie I don't like, and I think is honestly like I get what he's doing with it, and I still think it's a stupid movie. But he's earnest about it, and so I like the guy. I like Chris N.
Yeah.
I guess that could be our final
this was
thought. I
my
don't know if
Letterboxd review. I just
Yeah.
had to check it out.
Mhm.
I had to read my own review. I feel like anyone could be a magician in this era. Every single trick is trapdoors.
Well, also it's like the tricks were like pretty like basic, and the audiences were like, "Whoa, he made a rubber ball appear out of his jacket. That's crazy."
Yeah,
oh, he killed a bird. Wow.
Surprised they didn't do like the never-ending handkerchief in the sleeve or something.
Well, like Christian Bale is doing the stupid thing where he takes the rings and he just jams them together. You know?
And
he was doing that. The audience was like, okay.
They were like kind of booing him, but they're like, okay.
They're like, I still don't know how he's doing it. I've just seen it before. I also like the one trick where it's just like shoot a gun, like an unloaded gun at somebody.
Yeah.
And pretend to catch. Like that's not a trick.
Yeah, they do that in Heathers, and it's not magic at all.
All these films are in a lot of ways very interconnected.
So true.
So true.
Yeah,
I think that's what makes this podcast special.
He should have done the bullet catch with Luga bullets. They just, just cuts a little bit.
Just stop. Yeah, just enough to bleed a little. And then, yeah.
If you're really about it.
Winona Ryder should have been the assistant that dies. She should have been Hugh Jackman's wife in this movie.
Yeah. I would prefer.
Also, I didn't understand why Hugh Jackman was American or like pretending to be American in the movie. Because everyone else was British. Like Scarlett Johansson had to have a terrible British accent. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great.
I think it's movie magic. I don't know. I feel like they needed some connection to get to Tesla, who was in America. And it's like, if you're all British, what do you know about Tesla? But one guy is American, and he knows him. We barely talked about it, but David Bowie was like pretty good in this film.
Yeah, he was good. I like Chris N's reverence for science people.
Yeah,
You know, you see
they
it
do that a
in this
lot.
movie, and having the most recent Chris Nolan movie that I saw before Chris N, excuse me, that I saw before this one was obviously Oppenheimer, and obviously that's a huge,
Yeah, he does.
salute. It's a
He
big tip
does
of the
love
hat to
science in that
science.
movie.
I think he just likes science. Like he just likes kind of sciencey nerd
Yeah,
shit, but like not in like a smart guy way, just in like a he thinks
it's
it's
like a
cool.
Facebook group. I fucking love science kind of way.
Yeah, he is in that group. He might be the
Yeah, he
moderator
may.
of that group.
Yeah, he may be moderator of I fucking love science.
I mean, if you go to that group and you see a Chris Ed in there
Yeah,
with an ambiguous profile picture, the chances of it being Christopher Nolan are not zero.
absolutely true.
That's all I'm
Check
going to
it
say.
out. Report back. Send us an email. Do you remember what the email is?
When I was doing laundry
Uh,
earlier, I was like, I wonder what the email is because I know we're gonna have to plug it, and I don't remember.
yep.
Bad boy.
badboycinemafanmail@gmail.com.
Yeah, let
Um,
us know what you think about this movie or any other movie, or if you have suggestions or just thoughts about film. We'd love to read them.
yeah, tell us.
Maybe on the air. You know.
Suggest a film for us to review, or just send an email and be like, "Dear Bad Boy Cinema, Dutch angles are fucking weird, bro. What's up with that? They're in every movie."
Why are they Dutch? You know.
It's so true. Um, yeah, just hit us up for any reason.
Yeah.
Hit us up to sponsor us. Hmm?
Maybe. I would love.
A24. A24, right?
You guys have not been, really marketing your Oscar nominated films so much. So
Yeah.
maybe we could have done that.
Yeah.
Think
I
about
feel
it.
like I feel like there needs to be more advertising, more promotion for old films. These films live forever. And
That
it's
is
like,
true.
you're really
Yeah.
pushing for opening weekend and then like, yeah, we're over that one. Fucking Men. Men was pretty good. Shout out Men, produced by A24. Great film. Go watch that. You know? I mean, that's not the best example.
The
But
Iron Claw, another
sure.
A24 film.
Dix
Check
the
that out.
Musical. Go check out Dix the Musical. I rented it from the library. That shit sucks. I turned it off. But
Yeah.
look, can't all be winners. All right. We
No.
will see you next week.
Bye bye.